Ever wondered why your day doesn't start without a cup of coffee? It's like the dawn chorus, a ritual performed by millions around the globe, as common as the sunrise itself. Coffee, the bewitching brew, coursing through our veins, kickstarting our day, has become an integral part of our morning routine. Its enticing aroma wafts through homes and cafes, signaling the start of a new day. From the bustling streets of New York to the quaint cafes of Paris, from the coffee plantations of Ethiopia to the espresso bars of Italy, the love for coffee unites us all. This dark elixir, some say, is the lifeblood of productivity, the liquid courage needed to face the day. It's the comforting companion to our sunrise solitude, the silent partner in our morning meditations. But have you ever stopped to ponder its allure? So what makes this beverage so vital to our morning routine? Let's delve into the enigmatic world of coffee and find out. To understand why coffee wakes us up, we first need to know how our body regulates sleep and wakefulness. Enter adenosine, a neurotransmitter that plays a starring role in your sleep-wake cycle. As you go about your day, adenosine levels gradually build up in your brain. It's like a sand timer, slowly filling up with grains of sleepiness. But how does this work exactly? Well, picture adenosine as a key and your brain cells as locks. Throughout the day, the adenosine keys slot into the locks of your brain cells, and as more and more keys find their locks, you start to feel increasingly drowsy. So as your day progresses, the adenosine level in your brain rises, and the more adenosine, the sleepier you get. This is your body's clever way of telling you that it's time to rest and rejuvenate. When you finally give in to the call of your comfy bed, adenosine levels decrease during sleep, resetting the timer for the next day. But what about those times when you're staying up late to catch that extra episode of your favorite show or pulling an all-nighter for work? Well, adenosine doesn't pause its accumulation. It continues to build up, making you feel even more tired when you finally do hit the hay. It's important to remember that sleep isn't just about feeling rested. It's also crucial for memory consolidation, learning, and maintaining a healthy immune system, among other things. So when you skimp on sleep, you're not just making yourself groggy, you're also impacting your overall health and well-being. But we all know that life happens, and sometimes a full night's sleep just isn't in the cards. On those days, you might find yourself reaching for the coffee pot. And who can blame you? After all, there's something almost magical about that first sip of steaming, aromatic coffee. Now let's see where our beloved coffee comes into play. How does coffee interact with adenosine, you might ask? Well, let's dive into the fascinating world of neurochemistry to find out. Let's start with adenosine. This is a neurotransmitter in your brain that gradually builds up throughout the day. As levels of adenosine rise, so too does your feeling of tiredness. It's like a gentle nudge from your brain telling you it's time to rest. So where does coffee come into the picture? The answer lies in the magic ingredient, caffeine. Caffeine is a curious little compound. It's structurally similar to adenosine, so similar in fact that it can fit snugly into the adenosine receptors in your brain. Now imagine these receptors as locks, adenosine as the proper key, and caffeine as the mischievous imposter key. When the imposter key or caffeine slips into the lock, it doesn't turn the lock, meaning it doesn't trigger the feeling of tiredness. Rather, it just sits there blocking the real key, adenosine, from doing its job. This is where the magic happens. With caffeine blocking the adenosine receptors, adenosine can't do its job of making you feel tired. But it doesn't stop there. The blocked adenosine receptors send signals to your brain to pump out more of the stimulating neurotransmitters like dopamine and glutamate, and to produce more adenosine receptors. This gives you a double whammy of increased alertness and decreased tiredness. This clever mechanism is why your morning cup of joe can make a world of difference to your day. It's not just about the ritual, the aroma, or even the taste. It's about how coffee, or more specifically caffeine, interacts with the adenosine in your brain, blocking those feelings of tiredness and giving your alertness a hefty boost. That's why after drinking coffee, you feel more awake and alert. But the effects of coffee don't stop at wakefulness. No, indeed they do not. When you sip your morning coffee, you're not just blocking adenosine, the sleepy molecule we talked about in the previous scene. You're also kickstarting a cascade of other reactions that enhance your mood and cognitive functions. Let's dive a bit deeper into this fascinating process. When adenosine is blocked by caffeine, your brain doesn't just stop there. It's not satisfied with merely keeping you awake. It goes a step further. It signals the release of other neurotransmitters, namely dopamine and glutamate. Now, dopamine is a term most of us are familiar with. Often dubbed the feel-good neurotransmitter, dopamine is linked with feelings of pleasure and reward. It's what gives you that sense of satisfaction after completing a task or achieving a goal. Now, imagine getting a bit of that dopamine boost with your morning cup of joe. It's no wonder that coffee is often associated with elevated mood and increased motivation. On the other hand, glutamate is a little less well-known, but no less significant. It is the primary excitatory neurotransmitter in the brain, playing a fundamental role in cognitive functions. It's involved in learning and memory and helps your brain cells communicate and process information more efficiently. So when you drink coffee, you're not just shaking off the cobwebs of sleep. You're also priming your brain for the day ahead, providing it with the tools it needs to learn, remember, process, and perform. Think of it as a morning pep talk for your brain. You're not just saying, wake up. You're also saying, let's get things done and let's do them well. It's a complex and beautiful dance of neurochemistry, all happening inside that mysterious and wonderful organ we call the brain. And it all starts with that simple, humble, and oh-so-delicious cup of coffee. So coffee doesn't just wake you up, it can also enhance your mood and cognitive functions. Like anything else, too much coffee can have its downsides. While coffee can be a delightful way to kickstart your day, excessive consumption can lead to undesirable effects. Let's delve into some of these potential pitfalls. First, let's talk about insomnia. Coffee, as we know, is rich in caffeine, a stimulant that blocks sleep-inducing chemicals in the brain and increases adrenaline production. A cup of coffee can keep you alert and focused, but too many cups can translate into sleepless nights. While everyone's tolerance to caffeine varies, it's important to remember that it can take up to 10 hours for the caffeine to completely leave your system. So that late afternoon pick-me-up might just be the culprit behind your tossing and turning at night. Next on the list is jitteriness. Ever had that feeling of being wired when your heart seems to be racing and you can't sit still? That's your body responding to an overdose of caffeine. It can increase your heart rate, cause an upset stomach, and lead to feelings of restlessness and anxiety. While these symptoms usually pass as the caffeine wears off, it can be quite an uncomfortable experience. Finally, we need to address dependence. It's no secret that caffeine is addictive. Regular intake of caffeine changes the chemistry of your brain, leading it to expect and rely on the stimulant. As a result, you might find yourself needing more and more coffee to achieve the same alertness and productivity. And if you try to stop or even cut back on your coffee intake, you might experience withdrawal symptoms like headaches, fatigue, and irritability. The point here isn't to scare you away from your beloved cup of joe. Rather, it's to make you aware of the potential impact of overindulging in this popular beverage. By understanding the effects, you can make informed decisions about your coffee consumption. Remember, it's all about balance and moderation. So, it's important to enjoy your coffee in moderation. After all, coffee is a pleasure, not a necessity. Don't let it control you. Instead, take control of it. So, let's quickly recap what we learned today. We started our journey with the ritual of morning coffee, understanding the psychological and cultural significance it holds. We then delved into the science of sleep and wakefulness, discussing how our bodies naturally regulate these cycles. Next, we explored how coffee interacts with adenosine, a compound in our body responsible for inducing sleep. We discovered that caffeine in coffee blocks adenosine receptors, promoting alertness and wakefulness. We also discussed the after effects of coffee, such as increased heart rate, boosted mood, and enhanced cognitive functioning. But it's not all rosy. We also highlighted the downsides of coffee, like sleep disruption and potential dependence. So whether it's the aroma that draws you in or the kick it gives to your cognition, coffee does more than just wake you up. It's a complex interaction of chemistry and biology that influences our daily life. Next time you sip your morning coffee, remember the fascinating science that's helping you start your day.